Hello there and welcome to this, the third episode of Tostig Plays Kerbal Space Program, with me, Tostig. In the last episode we managed to get off the ground, and in this one we're going to try and stay off the ground, and if we're lucky, maybe even intercept the moon. Or as it might be pronounced, the MUN, I'm not quite sure. Clicking on the vehicle assembly builder, we can load up our version 1 rocket. Okay, it's quite a good rocket, but it's a little bit basic, and we've unlocked some new parts since last time, so let's put them to use. We'll get rid of that solid stage booster, but I have a feeling that our top stage is quite reasonable. Let's also quickly name this the version 2 rocket, in the grand tradition of German rocketeers naming things. So, propulsion. We have nothing really very new here, so let's stick on. I'm going to go for 3 fuel tanks. 4 fuel tanks, I can count, honest. And anything else interesting? No, apart from the structure tab. So, for the moment, this would be even worse than our previous rocket, but now we have radial decouplers. X to put them onto 4 times symmetry, and we'll want them to disengage after our engine started. On these 4 times radial decouplers, we'll stick 4 booster engines, and we'll want them to start at the same time as the main engine. And that'll be alright, but we can rinse repeat. And we want these to decouple. What am I doing? We want these to fire at the same time as the ones below decouple. And you've guessed it, rinse repeat. Nope. There we are. Now, this isn't going to be the most stable aircraft, as we haven't researched more gyroscopes or tail fins or anything useful like that, but it may just work. So, just to check out the staging here, we have fire all the rockets and motors, drop the first stage, fire the second stage, drop the second stage, fire the third stage, drop the third stage, drop the entire shebang, and fire the engine. Should work. Before we fire it off, we're going to go into action groups and make sure that we're shutting down and dropping all of the various stages. I don't think you can shut down solid fuel engines, but it doesn't hurt to try. Okay, save our version 2 rocket and go to the launch pad. More coffee. Okay, hit T to turn on the gyroscope, shift to power up, and space to fire. Like I said, this isn't the most stable aircraft, and it's already drifting, so we're going to use WASDA to try and correct that. Later on we can research gyroscopes and things to make it more stable. So, busy mashing WASD like a Quake player. Up it flies. Nope. And space to fire the next stage. And it's spinning. Isn't that nice? So using Q to try and counteract the spinning. And the last stage. Ah, that's a little bit better. And tilt to 45 degrees. Drop them, and X to cut the engine, while we take a look at the map with M. Our apoapsis is nice, outside of the atmosphere, so click on it, add a manoeuvre, prograde burn, same as in the last tutorial, and till we're about. There is a more efficient way of doing this, but you get the idea. That'll do. Back here. Resources, keep an eye out for how much electricity is being used by the flywheel, as we don't have any battery packs or solar panels. We could research them, but still 40 seconds to go. So, warp up time a little bit. Oops, too far. So let's fire the engines. Notice that the prograde marker on the nav ball is going for a wonder. No idea why. Right click, clicking on a fuel tank shows you how much fuel's left in it. And here's our orbit, busy accelerating. Excuse the sniffing, I have a cold. And when it's run out of fuel in this stage, space to bring up the next stage. And there we are, a not good enough orbit. Well, so burn facing upwards. This is using up way too much fuel, by the way. Looks like we won't get to the moon, guys. Okay, the most efficient way to increase the height of the periapsis, which is the lowest bit of the orbit, is from the opposite end of the orbit. Like so. That's tiny little bit of delta V being used up to get us into a better orbit. I should have done that earlier. and burn for a second. There we are. Now we may have enough science, enough fuel even, to get there. What do we reckon? It's going to be pretty closer on the thing. 12-second burn. We might have enough. Let's give it a go. So, getting the nav ball in place. And turning off SAS for the moment, the gyroscope, as we speed around Kerbin. Five, four, three, two, one, burn. Oops, a little bit too much, so we'll need to burn here, just a smidgen. Could be better. Nearly there. There we are. That'll bring us back down to Kerbin. I'm happy with that. And our orbit takes us right the way out. Turn off the gyroscope while we make a crew report. Observe some mysterious goo. That's a point. We can transmit that crew report and do an EVA. So we have over a day until the encounter. Let's warp up. Okay. We might have enough fuel left to get into an orbit of the moon here, the MUN, whatever you want to call it. To do that, we slow down, burn retrograde, at the best possible point, which is the periapsis. Couple of 100 meters per second delta V might be possible. Burning retrograde until we get into an orbit. Might be possible. Because the moon has no atmosphere, we don't need to worry about it. Over an hour to kill. Oops. There we are. We're now in a MUNAR orbit. And now we want to fly as close to the moon as we dare. So for that, we do a retrograde burn at the apoapsis, the highest point, until we'll be skimming by 1600 meters above the moon's surface. A little bit close, but hey. And in order to find that, we line up and turn off the gyroscope. Once we're happy with how it's lined up, over a day until the manoeuvre node. We need to get some smooth jazz to play in these bits. Later on, once you guys have got the idea, I might just start pausing through them. That'll do. And 5 hours to go until that happens. I clicked on the little tag to make the details stand there. Oops, too fast. M to drop out of map mode. And here we are above the surface of the moon. I don't dare land yet. So instead, we'll need to do a burn in order to get back to Kerbin. Something like that. There we are. That's an escape from the moon. And burn retrograde at the far point to have us crash into Kerbin. Ah, can't speed up any further while we're flying past. You going to pass anything interesting? No, not really. Okay, here we are. Oh look, there'll be another MUNAR encounter later on, which we won't crash into the moon. That's all good. But that will take us out to an orbit near Minmus, the second moon of Kerbal. Rather than getting greedy though, at the apoapsis there, we'll do a retrograde burn, and again use the moon to get us close. That's the plan, at least. Or stop faffing about, start again. Let's see if we can do this. Here we are. Turn off that gyroscope. 12 days to go. Ah, that didn't go as expected quite. Probably the physics warp. Ah, that's not good. We're going to crash into the moon. So we just need to burn prograde a little bit until we escape it. Okay. And at the apoapsis, burn retrograde until we hit Kerbin. Doesn't really matter that we've been flung any further out. Though actually, we can burn retrograde there and use less fuel to get closer to Kerbin. Assuming that we don't hit the moon. Silly moon getting in our way. 14 days to go. Ooh, a Minmus encounter. That should be worth it. For sweet, sweet science. Five days to go. Oops, too far. Here we are, with a Minmus encounter, and hitting Kerbin. Not too shabby. The encounter's not for 4 days. So we can quite happily speed up until then. So now, here we are. Right click, review the goo canisters. Ah, that was a mistake. We lost the one from the moon. Damn. Oops. Oh well. Transmit that report. Do an EVA. Board the ship. That's about all that we can do. We lost some science there. That was ungood. And now, as we approach Kerbin, we can press the abort button to deploy the things that we need. Oh, I should have done that while warped up. Turn the gyroscope off. And here we are, plummeting towards the ground. Nice re-entry effects. And above the shore. Really close to the shore. Just so you know, if you're ever short of science, you can repeat lots of these experiments for different biomes. And splish splosh, landing in the water. Turning on the gyroscope this time. Oh, no electricity left. Never mind, let's recover it. And see how much science we earned. Would you look at that? 150 odd. So now, if we go to our research and development place, we can research fuel systems. Which is important because that gives us fuel lines. And we can research... Oh no, we can't research heavier rocketry. So, what should we research? Let's go for survivability and science tech. $45 left. That's enough for stability. And not enough left for anything else. So thank you very much guys, like and subscribe, and next episode we're going to go into asparagus staging, which is basically cheat mode but for rockets. Thank you very much and happy rocketry.